We all know her as the Queen of Motown with those iconic performances and dazzling glamour, but there's a side to her life that not often is talked about. A side filled with heart-wrenching experience. We're talking about Diana Ross. Join us on this emotional roller coaster as we unravel the tragic reality confirmed by none other than her own daughter. That's right, we're challenging the perceptions we've held about Diana Ross all along. It's time to take a look behind the stage lights and get real about the highs and lows of her extraordinary journey. Let's take a trip down memory lane to Detroit, Michigan, where the Queen of Motown first graced the world on March 26, 1944. Yup, that's right. Diana Ross was born and bred in the Motor City. Now, she wasn't always Diana. Her mom had originally named her Diane, but oops, there was a little mix-up on the birth certificate, and Viola, we got ourselves Diana Ross. It's funny how life works, huh? Despite the official name change, her family and friends back in Detroit stuck with Diane throughout her life. And let's talk about her big family. Diana was the second of 6 kids born to Ernestine and Fred Ross Sr., 2 sisters, Barbara and Rita, and 3 brothers, Arthur, Fred Jr., and the one with the cool nickname Wilbert, aka Chico. Diana Ross grew up on the north end of Detroit, rubbing shoulders with none other than Smokey Robinson, her neighbor. Talk about a star-studded neighborhood. But life wasn't always smooth for young Diana. When she was just 7, her mom fell seriously ill with tuberculosis. It hit the Ross family hard, and they decided to send the kids to live with their grandparents in Bessemer, Alabama, while Ernestine battled her way back to health. It's a lot like a plot twist in a movie, right? After her mom recovered, though, the Ross squad packed up their bags and headed to the Motor City. One tragic memory she recalls is in the quiet darkness on the front steps of their building. There's a young mom sitting alone and crying. Why? Because she just lost her kid. Buddies of our girl Diana. Now the whole thing is tragic. These kids were playing with another neighborhood pal when they got stuck in an old abandoned fridge. It's the stuff of nightmares. And by the time someone found them, it was too late. Heartbreaking, right? Diana Ross, even as a kid herself, couldn't escape the haunting sound of that mom's grief. It was the first time she came face to face with death, and let me tell you, it hit her hard. In her own words, she writes about lying in bed, wondering how long it took them to pass away, if they screamed, and how much it hurt. On her 14th birthday bash in 1958, the Ross squad packed up their dreams and relocated to Brewster Douglas Housing Project, setting up a shop on St. Antoine Street. It was a working-class vibe, but little did they know they had a future superstar in their midst. Now picture this. Diana is strutting her stuff at Case Technical High School in downtown Detroit. It wasn't just any high school. It was a 4-year college and preparatory magnet school setting the stage for something big. And guess what? Diana had big dreams of becoming a fashion designer. Move over, Project Runway. Here comes Diana Ross. She dove headfirst into classes like clothing design, millinery, that's hat making for you non-fashionistas, pattern making, and tailoring. But that's not all. Our girl was a multitasking queen. Evenings and weekends. Oh, she was rocking modeling and cosmetology classes too. And get this, Smokey Robinson himself supposedly lent her the funds to attend these glam sessions. Talk about a supportive neighbor. But wait, there's more. Diana wasn't just about fashion and style, she was a swimming sensation too, hitting the pool as part of Case Tech's swim team. Fast forward to 1960, and Hudson's downtown Detroit store saw the potential in Diana, hiring her as its first African-American bus girl. Yup, she was breaking barriers even back then. And for that extra moolah, our girl was willing to moonlight as a hairdresser for her neighbors. Because, why not? And the grand finale, Diana Ross, the high school graduate, walked across the stage at Case Tech in January 1962, ready to take on the world. Settle in for even more of Diana Ross's extraordinary life. The journey is just beginning, everyone. Diana, just 15 years old, steps into the spotlight as she joins the Primettes, the sister group to the Primes, a male vocal powerhouse. How did it all happen? Well, It's a bit of a musical love story. Prime's member Paul Williams, smitten by Diana's talent, brought her to the attention of the music manager Milton Jenkins, and thus the Primettes were born. Who were the other fabulous Primettes, you ask? Well, we've got Florence Ballard, the first member hired by Jenkins, Mary Wilson, and Betty McGlown, who happened to be Paul Williams' girlfriend at the time. Now fast forward to 1960 and the Primettes strut their stuff and win a talent competition in Windsor, Ontario. Enter Robert Bateman, an A&R executive and songwriter who catches wind of their success and invites them to audition for none other than Motown Records. But the Motown journey doesn't stop there. Diana, with her killer live performances at sock hops and events, turns to her former neighbor and rumored childhood boyfriend, drumroll please, William Smokey Robinson. She pops the question about auditioning for Motown, and guess what? Smokey insists they audition for him first. Long story short, Smokey Robinson, with his magic touch, agrees to bring the Primettes to Motown. The only catch? They will have to let him and his group, the Miracles, hire the Primettes' guitarist, Marvin Tarplin, whom Diana had discovered, and guess what? Marv ends up playing with Robinson for over 30 years. Diana, in her autobiography, Secrets of a Sparrow, called it a fair trade. The Primettes, bursting with talent, auditioned for Motown executives, and fate has it that Berry Gordy, the man himself, hears a young Diana Ross belting out, "There Goes My Baby." Gordy, in his autobiography, To Be Loved, recalls that her voice stopped me in my tracks. Can you imagine? He's on his way to a meeting, and bam! Diana Ross's voice just grabs him. But hold the applause. Gordy, being the wise man he is, advises the group to finish high school before diving into the Motown whirlwind. Not deterred, the Primettes turn up at Motown's Hitsville, USA headquarters every single day, offering a helping hand with recordings. Think hand claps and background vocals. Dedication at its finest. In 1960, the group even recorded 2 tracks for Lupine Records, with Diana taking the lead on one. Talk about determination. And get this, during their early days, Diana wasn't just the lead singer. Nope, she was also the group's hairstylist, makeup artist, seamstress, and costume designer. Now that's what I call a multitasking superstar. By late 1960s, the Primettes, now with Barbara Martin instead of Betty McGlown, got the green light to record their own songs at Hitsville Studio. Many were written by none other than the legend Smokey Robinson, who had climbed the ranks to become Motown's vice president, while they had regional hits like Your Heart Belongs to Me and A Breathtaking Guide. The national spotlight was still beckoning. Then, in January 1961, Berry Gordy drops the bombshell. He'll sign the group, but only if they change their name. So, Motown secretary Janie Bradford approaches Florence Ballard to pick a new name. And there you have it, Supremes. Reportedly chosen because it was the only name on the list that doesn't end with "et." Little did they know the name change would go down in history. In 1962, Barbara Martin left the group, turning the Supremes into a trio. Fast forward to late 1963, and the Supremes hit the charts with When the Love Light Shines Shining Through His Eyes, reaching number 23 on the Billboard 100. But the real breakthrough came in June of 1964 when they scored their first number 1 hit with Where Did Our Love Go? This marked the beginning of an unparalleled success story. Between August 1964 and 1967, Diana Ross, along with Mary Wilson and Florence Ballard, sang on 10 number 1 hit singles, all of which also made the UK Top 40. The Supremes became a sensation, captivating audiences both at home and abroad. They were on fire, becoming Motown's most successful vocal act throughout the 1960s. Diana Ross's personal life added its own twists and turns. In 1965, she entered into a romantic relationship with Motown CEO Berry Gordy. This love story lasted several years and resulted in the birth of Ross's eldest child, Rhonda Susan Silberstein, in 1971. However, just 2 months into her pregnancy with Rhonda, Ross tied the knot with music executive Robert Ellis Silberstein in January 1971. Despite knowing the true paternity of Rhonda, Silberstein embraced her as his own daughter. It wasn't until Rhonda turned 13 that Ross revealed to her that Berry Gordy was her biological father. Before this revelation, Rhonda affectionately referred to Gordy as Uncle BB. Now, as the Supremes gained more fame, Diana Ross naturally took center stage. She dominated interviews and even pushed for higher pay than her colleagues. In 1965, she officially started using the name Diana, surprising her fellow Supremes who had known her as Diane all along. Diana Ross spilled the beans in her memoir, Secrets of a Sparrow. Yeah, they were on top of the world, but behind the scenes, stress, sleepless nights, and enough travel to make your head spin. She was grateful for the dream life, but it sure wasn't all glitter. The pressure got so intense that Diana couldn't eat, literally. Food became repulsive, and she was skin and bones. Picture this: rashes before up to 6 shows a day. And the cherry on top is Berry Gordy is pushing them hard to keep performing. Diana was terrified they'd realize she wasn't as good as they thought, and the whole Supremes empire would crumble. However, fame came with its challenges. Florence Ballard faced issues with comportment, weight, and alcoholism, leading to her dismissal from the Supremes by Berry Gordy in July of 1967. Cindy Birdsong from Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells stepped in as Ballard's replacement. The group's name was changed to Diana Ross and the Supremes, a move that allowed Motown to charge a larger performance fee for a solo star and a backing group. Even though Gordy had considered launching Diana Ross into her solo career in 1966, he decided against it, recognizing the group's continued significance. However, Ross eventually left the Supremes in early 1970. The late 60s brought a whirlwind of change for Diana Ross, and boy, it was a roller coaster ride. According to her autobiography, Secrets of a Sparrow, Berry Gordy drove Diana relentlessly during this period, and the pressure took a toll on her mental and physical well-being. The demands of Gordy triggered anxiety, leading to Diana suffering from anorexia nervosa. The toll on her became evident during a performance in Boston in 1967, where Diana collapsed on stage and had to be hospitalized for exhaustion. The challenges of fame and the rigorous demands of the industry were taking their toll on the superstar. In 1968, Diana started making her own mark as a solo artist on television specials, including the Supremes' own show like TCB and GIT on Broadway. She also graced the Dinah Shore Show and a Bob Hope special, showcasing her versatility and paving her way for her solo career. By 1969, the writing was on the wall. Gordy decided that Diana Ross would depart from the Supremes by the end of the year. She began recording her initial solo work in July. Interestingly, one of the early plans of Diana's solo career involved introducing a new Motown act, none other than the Jackson 5. Although Diana didn't personally claim their discovery, Motown's publicity department credited her with having discovered the iconic group. In November, the news was official. Diana confirmed her split from the Supremes on Billboard, marking the end of an era. Her presumed first solo recording, Someday We'll Be Together, was eventually released as a Supremes track, but became their final #1 hit on the Hot 100. It was also the last #1 Billboard Hot 100 single of the 1960s. In 1971, the power ballad I'm Still Waiting became Diana Ross's first #1 single in the UK, solidifying her status as a global sensation. Later that year, she starred in her first solo television special titled Diana, as a showstopper that included the iconic Jackson 5. Talk about a star-studded affair. But the excitement didn't stop there. In 1971, Diana Ross took on her first film role, and it was a game changer. She starred in Lady Sings the Blues, a biographical film loosely based on the life of legendary singer Billie Holiday. Despite facing some criticisms for taking the role, Diana silenced the naysayers when the film hit theaters in 1972. Her performance as Billie Holiday earned her critical acclaim, with jazz critic Leonard Feather a friend of Holiday's praising Ross for her expertly capturing the essence of Lady Day. Diana's portrayal not only won her Golden Globe and Academy Award nominations for Best Actress, but also marked a significant triumph in her transition from music to acting. The soundtrack for Lady Sings the Blues mirrored the film's success, reaching #1 on the Billboard 200, staying there for 2 weeks and selling 2 million units. Diana Ross was conquering new heights in the world of entertainment. In 1973, Diana Ross embarked on a historic tour in Japan, becoming the first entertainer to receive an invitation to the Imperial Palace for a private audience with Empress Nagako, wife of Emperor Hirohito. Fast forward to April 1974, and Ross made history again as the first African-American woman to co-host the Academy Awards, sharing the stage with John Hudson, Burt Reynolds, and David Niven. After dropping the moderately successful album Last Time I Saw Him in 1973, Ross dove into her second film, Mahogany, released in 1975, reuniting with Billy D. Williams, her co-star from Lady Sings the Blues. Ross even flexed her design skills by creating the film's costumes. But here's the twist. The movie faced troubles from the start. The original director, Tony Richardson, got the boot and Barry Gordy took the director's chair. Things got rocky between Gordy and Ross during filming, leading Ross to exit before shooting wrapped up. Secretary Edna Anderson stepped in as Ross's body double. Despite box office success, critics weren't kind. Time magazine scolded Gordy for squandering one of America's most natural resources, Diana Ross. Ouch! Nevertheless, Ross snagged her third U.S. #1 hit with the theme from Mahogany, Do You Know Where We're Going To? In 1976, Diana Ross dropped another bomb on the music scene with her fourth solo #1 hit, Love Hangover. The sensual track started slow and dramatic before exploding into an up-tempo disco vibe. Following this success, Ross kicked off an Evening with Diana Ross tour in 1976, and it was a hit. The tour's triumph earned her a 2-week run at Broadway's Palace Theater and an Emmy-nominated TV special of the same name. This special featured special makeup effects by Stan Winston, showcasing Ross as a legendary cabaret artist, Josephine Baker, and blues singer Bessie Smith and Ethel Waters. As the cherry on top, she snagged a special Tony Award. Moving on to her albums Baby It's Me in 1977 and Ross in 1978, they sold modestly compared to her early hits. In 1977, Motown snagged the film rights to The Wiz, a Broadway play giving a fresh twist to L. Frank Baum's The Wonderful World of Oz. Initially, the plan was to cast stage actors, but Ross convinced the producers to choose her over Stephanie Mills for the role of Dorothy. Universal Pictures hopped on board to finance the film. This switch led to some script changes, transforming Dorothy from a schoolgirl to a school teacher. Michael Jackson, Ross's former Motown label mate, also joined the cast as the Scarecrow. The duo had a modest dance hit with Ease On Down the Road. Their second duet part of the Wiz ensemble called Brand New Day found success overseas. One thing that many of us don't know is Michael Jackson and Ross had a very good friendship. Their bond was so strong that upon Michael's passing, his will revealed that if his mother couldn't take care of his kids, custody would go to Ross, bypassing other blood relations. Now here's the twist. Sources spilled the tea to the Daily Beast, saying Diana was just as surprised as anyone about this arrangement. It put her in a heartbreaking spot, and things got messier when Catherine, Michael's mother, was assigned to custody but went MIA for over a week. Despite once being described by Michael as mother, love, and sister all rolled up in one, reports suggested that Diana and Michael had fallen out of touch. When it came to taking custody, Ross wasn't on board. Through her attorney, she issued a statement deeming it a private matter involving minors and asserting that privacy was in everyone's best interest. The Wiz hit the big screen with a $24 million production, but come October 1978, it fell short of earning only $21,049,053 at the box office. Even with pre-sale TV rights sold for over $10 million, the film resulted in a net loss of $10.4 million for Motown and Universal. At the time, it was the priciest film musical ever made. Sadly, this flop marked the end of Diana Ross's brief stint in the movie business and put a damper on Hollywood's willingness to produce all-black film projects. But the show must go on, and in 1980, Ross bounced back with her most successful album to date, Diana, crafted by Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards of Chic. The album featured hits like I'm Coming Out and Upside Down, the latter becoming her fifth chart-topping single in the U.S. Before dropping Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Ross hosted her first TV special in 4 years, aptly named Diana. Directed by Steve Binder, the special was a star-studded affair filmed at Inglewood, California's The Forum, featuring performances by legends like Michael Jackson, Muhammad Ali, Larry Hagman, Quincy Jones, and members of the Joffrey Ballet. May 6, 1982, marked a special day for Diana Ross as she was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Following the success of Why Do Fools Fall in Love, she kept the momentum going with Silk Electric, featuring the Michael Jackson written and produced hit Muscles. The track earned her another top 10 Grammy-nominated success, and the album eventually went gold. In 1983, Ross explored a more pop-rock-oriented sound with the release of the Ross album. Despite the top 40 hit single Pieces of Ice, the album didn't generate more hits or achieve gold status. Diana Ross's romantic journey took another turn when she married her second husband, Norwegian shipping magnate Arne Næss Jr. in 1985. The two tied the knot the following year. Through this marriage, Ross became the stepmother of Næss's three older children, Katinka, Christopher, and folk singer Leona Næss. The couple also had two sons together, Ross Arne, born in 1987, and Evan Olav, born in 1988. Unfortunately, the marriage came to an end in 2000, following reports that Næss had fathered a child with another woman in Norway. Despite the separation, Ross has mentioned that Næss remains the love of her life. Tragically, Næss passed away in a South African mountain climbing accident in 2004. Now here's a quirky bit from the 1990s. Ross took the stage during the opening ceremony of the 1994 FIFA World Cup in Chicago and the pre-match entertainment of the 1995 Rugby League World Cup final at Wembley Stadium. The World Cup ceremony had her attempt a staged penalty kick, but in an infamous twist, she missed the penalty instead. Whoopsie-daisy, but hey, at least it added a memorable moment to the sporting events. In 1996, something really bad happened. In her memoir, Secret of a Sparrow, Diana Ross shared some touching memories of her siblings. One brother, Arthur, was affectionately named T-Boy because he was, well, tiny compared to the rest. But in 1996, tragedy struck in the most heartbreaking way imaginable. Arthur and his wife, Patricia Ann Robinson Ross, were found dead in the basement of their home in a Detroit suburb of Oak Park. Can you believe it? They only had been married for less than a year. According to reports from the Tampa Bay Times and Associated Press, they were both tied up and suffocated with plastic bags. It's chilling to think about. Neighbors noticed a strange smell emanating from the house and called authorities. When the bodies were discovered, it was estimated they had been there for 2 or 3 weeks. Diana Ross expressed her shock and sorrow, saying, "I loved him very, very much." Now here's where it gets even more intense. Arthur and his wife had been renting out the house to another couple who mysteriously vanished after the bodies were found. One of the tenants, Ricky Vernon Brooks, was arrested along with his girlfriend, Regina Smith, and another associate, Ramel Lavertis Howard. But hold up, the plot thickens. While police stated that Smith wasn't a suspect in the killings, she was considered a witness. And get this, Howard was released because Smith didn't show up in court to testify. Talk about a roller coaster story. The details surrounding Brooks' involvement remain frustratingly unclear, leaving us with more questions than answers. In 1998, Diana Ross took center stage as the host of the Motown 40 telecast on ABC, celebrating the iconic record label's 4 decades of hits. The following year brought more accolades as Ross was named the most successful female singer in the history of the United Kingdom charts, tallying up her impressive career hits. However, Madonna would later surpass her as the most successful female artist in the UK. In January 2003, Diana Ross received the honor of Humanitarian of the Year from Nile Rodgers' We Are Family Foundation, recognizing her contributions beyond the stage. Shortly after, she was celebrated as a guest at the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters Award. Later the same year, Ross graced the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute annual gala as the guest performer. She wore a custom ensemble designed by the renowned fashion designer Tom Ford and surprised attendees by also walking the runway as the celebrity model for American couture Dennis Basso's show. In February 2012, Diana snagged her first Grammy Award, and it wasn't just a Grammy, it was a Lifetime Achievement Award. Talk about long overdue recognition. To add to the excitement, she also took the stage to announce the nominees for Album of the Year, a true icon making waves. Zooming into 2013, Diana embarked on a tour of South America and then graced stages across the United States. And hold on to your jazz hats, because on July 3rd, 2014, she was honored with the Ella Fitzgerald Award at the Montreal International Jazz Festival for her extraordinary contribution to contemporary jazz vocals. Bravo, Diana! In a turn of events that showcases her versatility, in 2015, she made a cameo in the music video for How to Live Alone, a song performed by her son, Evan Ross. Now that's a family affair. But guess what? The excitement didn't stop there. On April 2015, kicked off a mini residency titled The Essential Diana Ross, Some Memories Never Fade, with 9 dazzling performances at the Venetian in Las Vegas, Nevada. The City of Lights got even brighter. Closing in on the end of 2015, Motown Universal gifted us with the release of the album Diana Ross Sings Songs from the Wiz. This gem, recorded in 1978, features Diana Ross's incredible renditions of songs from the film version of the musical, where she shared the stage with legends like Michael Jackson, Nipsey Russell, Ted Ross, Richard Pryor, and Lena Horne. In 2016, Billboard magazine bestowed her upon the title 50 Most Successful Dance Club Artists of All Time. Fast forward to June 4th, 2022, and Diana Ross takes center stage as the grand finale act at the Platinum Party at the Palace, marking the Platinum Jubilee of Elizabeth II. Just when you thought she couldn't get any more regal, right? On June 10th, she kicks off the UK leg of the Thank You Tour at the majestic Cardiff Castle. And just when you think she's conquered it all, she graces the iconic Pyramid stage at Glastonbury Festival on June 26th, proving that age is just a number for this timeless icon. In a spectacular turn of events, on November 15th, 2022, Diana Ross receives a Grammy Award nomination for the 2023 ceremony in the Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album category for her album Thank You. Talk about standing ovation. And get this, on June 9th, 2023, she's set to kick off the U.S. leg of the Music Legacy Tour, a celebration of her greatest #1 hits. Brace yourselves for a musical journey like no other. But the excitement doesn't stop there. In May 2023, it was announced that Diana Ross would grace the prestigious Royal Albert Hall in London on October 14th and 15th, 2023. A true queen on a global reign. Diana Ross has received 13 Grammy nominations, but she has never taken home a trophy in a conventional category. She did receive 2 Grammy Lifetime Achievement Awards, one as an individual and another as a member of the Supremes. This is extremely surprising for such a prolific artist. Tracy Ellis Ross, daughter of the iconic Diana Ross, in a recent cover story for Travel and Leisure, Tracy spills the tea on how growing up with legendary Diana Ross as her mom has shaped her perspective on life and travel. Imagine having a global superstar as your mom. Not a big deal, right? Tracy, who's a powerhouse of her own right with projects spanning film, TV, music, and beauty, spills the beans on her secret of finding the balance: solo travel. Yup, you heard it. She shares how embarking on solo adventures has been her way of reconnecting with herself amidst the hustle and bustle of her busy life. In an interview, Tracy reflects on her unique upbringing and how it influenced her world. She emphasizes that solo travel has been a key factor in her self-discovery, allowing her to know and honor herself in a profound way. Preach it, Tracy. One striking insight she shares is the profound realization that despite language barriers, we're all fundamentally the same. It's like she's dropping some wisdom bombs left and right. Tracy attributes the profound sense of connection to her upbringing, growing up surrounded by the glitz and glamour of her mom's legendary life. She shares that understanding the beauty in our differences enriches life, making it vibrant and textured. But here's the warming part. Tracy talks about how her mom's larger-than-life presence and nurturing ways have instilled in her a deep sense of home. No matter where she goes, she carries the feeling of home within, allowing her to create a sense of belonging wherever life takes her. Now, that's what I call a beautiful perspective on life and family. As of 2024, Diana Ross's earnings per concert are not publicly disclosed, but estimates guess that she earns upwards of $125,000 per performance. Booking her talents for an event is said to fall in the range of $300,000 to $500,000, indicating a substantial income for her live performances. It's safe to assume that she likely makes hundreds of thousands of dollars per concert, depending on the venue, capacity, and tickets. According to Celebrity Net Worth, Diana's net worth in 2024 is estimated to be an impressive $250 million. This substantial wealth has been amassed through her multifaceted career as a singer, both solo and the Supremes, record producer, screenwriter, actor, film and television producer, and composer. Ross's enduring influence and success have left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry.